Treasures from Juniper Ridge, the profound treasure instructions of Padmasambhava to the Dakini Yeshe Tsogyal. These are the perfect fruition for the benefit of oneself. Training in the experience of the previously mentioned state of bliss lets the Sambhogakayas appear from its transformation. They possess these 5 equivalents. The equivalent place is the densely arrayed realm of Akanishta. The equivalent teacher is the transcendent, free conqueror, glorious Vairochana or a Heruka, a Sambhogakaya adorned with numerous major and minor marks. The equivalent retinue consists of knowledge holders and bodhisattvas who reside on the levels. The equivalent teaching is exclusively the teachings of the greater vehicles. The equivalent time is the original eon, the time of excellence. Training in the experience of the previously mentioned state of clarity lets the Nirmanakayas appear from its transformation. They possess these 5 diversities. The diverse places consist of countless world systems. The diverse teachers are displayed in forms that correspond to whoever needs to be influenced. The diverse retinues are the 6 classes of sentient beings. The diverse teachings are the Dharma teachings that appear through the venues of the various vehicles. All these are the perfect fruition that is for the benefit of others. Are these 3 kayas separate or not? The 3 are in fact not separate within the original and uncontrived state of mind that is the essence body, Svabhavika. How do the 3 kayas appear from the single essence body? The Dharmakaya, free from every type of construct, appears when awakened and freed from the 2 obscurations. Bodhisattvas still have the cognitive stains, and are therefore unable to perceive more than the Sambhogakaya, the form adorned with the 32 major and the 80 minor marks of excellence. Sentient beings with dedicated interest still have emotional stains, and are therefore unable to perceive more than the Nirmanakayas, which are merely a reflection that corresponds to their individual state of mind. The 2 form bodies may be present for those still within samsara, but they remain untainted by samsara's dust. Dharmakaya remains in a state of great peace, but it is untainted by nirvana's limitation. This is why it is called the body of great bliss, Maha Sukhakaya. After realization, the state of mind of the Buddhas of the 3 times, the minds of the sentient beings of the 3 realms, and the insight of the yogis are all one within the sphere of this realization. This is like a traveler who, upon returning home, is free from the notions of having or not having reached his homeland, and from the notion of fear that dangers might appear. Similarly, you are now free from the fear of samsara, or the hope for nirvana. These were the Dharmakaya instructions in the nature of mind that is, in essence, free from conceptual attributes and beyond every type of construct. Samaya. In this way, you should carry on your daily practices while combining the meaning with similes. May these instructions given to the present king and his sons for the sake of all followers in future generations meet with the devoted person endowed with the karmic fortune. Samaya, seal, seal, seal. Seal of concealment. Seal of entrustment. Seal of treasure. Datim iti. The precious golden garland of meditation instructions. Namo Guru. The bodily form of the great master, known as the lotus-born, was unchanging like the sun. His speech was unceasing like a stream, and his mind unobstructed like the sky. His qualities were beyond increase and decrease like a river, and his activity unimpeded like the wind. His realization was equal to that of the Buddhas, and he taught the Dharma in conformity with the 6 classes of beings. Lady Tsogyal, the princess of Cargill, served this Nirmanakaya, who was as famous as the sun on the Jambu continent. While he was residing at the Juniper Ridge of crystal pearls, she pleased him in thought, word, and deed. Then she made the following request. Great Master, what is the prelude to meditation practice for a devoted person who desires to meditate? The Master replied, the prelude for meditation practice is to gather the accumulations, receive the oral instructions, cut the ties of attachment, and collect necessities. Tidy your dwelling, which should be uplifting and of an appropriate size. Having done so, form the compassionate attitude of bodhicitta, and resolve to establish all sentient beings in enlightenment. In your dwelling, arrange a stuffed cushion with a clean filling of cotton, wool, or the like. Rid yourself of bodily excretions such as feces and urine. From your throat and nose, expel mucus. Then assume the cross-legged posture. Place your hands in equanimity, the body straight and upright, your head neither bowed nor bent, your eyes lowered in the direction of the nose, and the teeth and lips in their ordinary way. In short, train in meditation, while letting your 3 doors be in their natural state. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, how should one keep the mind during meditation? The Master replied, while meditating, let your body and mind relax. Since there is nothing whatsoever to be analyzed, the stream of dualistic mind and the mental states arising from it are interrupted. You do not have to deliberately halt them. While neither keeping nor rejecting anything, let go of all mental activity. Don't think of anything, and don't imagine anything. Your nature is aware just as it is. Without moving toward anything, let be in your natural state. When remaining in this way, the knower and the known are not seen as separate, so don't think of the object as being there, or the knower as being here. Do not conceive of something other than those two. Since you neither pursue an object there, nor try to stop a thought here, you can allow mind itself to be pure, lucid, and awake, without needing to dwell on anything whatsoever. The flaws that hinder this are excitement, drowsiness, and deep-rooted beliefs. Excitement means the mind's act of reaching out towards objects. The way to adjust this is to relax your body and mind while keeping your attention collected. Settle it again and again. If you still chase after different thoughts, repeatedly direct your attention toward this jumpy mind. If you are unable to do that and thoughts continue to reach out, investigate this outward movement that is like a cloud in the sky. Where does it come from? Where does it move toward? And where does it remain? By exploring like this, allow the thought movements that arise from mind to subside again by themselves. As these thought movements are empty, there is no need to tightly restrict or deliberately prevent them. That was the instruction in dissolving excitement and the movement of thoughts. Drowsiness is like being in a dark room or having your eyes closed. To correct this, refresh yourself with activities such as spiritual practices, reflection, or the like. To refresh by means of samadhi, visualize yourself to be space. visualize your spine to be a stack of chariot wheels, and imagine your mind to be like the sky. To refresh by means of instruction, meditate while observing a sense object or while just keeping the senses wide open. These were the instructions in clearing up drowsiness. Dullness is when your mind becomes hazy or absent-minded, as if affected by an evil spirit. If that happens, set the practice aside and return to meditating after a while. That was the instruction in getting rid of mindlessness. Deep-rooted beliefs have 3 faults. Since the training in Dharmata is supposed to be habituating oneself by not focusing and not fixating on anything whatsoever, it is a fault if you hold a rigid belief, let alone all the contrary concepts such as it is such and it isn't such and such, eternity and void, antidotes to accept in order to reject, or the like. It is also a fault to harbour even a tiny speck of a notion or belief that all these things are unreal appearances, or all things are inconceivable, so I should meditate on not holding them in mind. That was the instruction in clearing away rigid beliefs. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "What types of experiences of realization arise from meditation training?" The Master replied, "Since samsara has no concrete substance, while training, all the various types of labels such as the appearance or disappearance of things, or that they neither arise nor cease and so forth, are just momentary labels used to indicate that fact. So as you train in this way, you come to realize that these things of concrete substance have no verifiable identity whatsoever. And since samsara has no concrete substance, it is not something that can be discarded, nor is nirvana something that can be obtained. You also come to realize that these two are merely labels, and that, according to the definitive meaning, none of the phenomena of samsara and nirvana are in fact real at all. And this you realize in actuality, beyond the domain of ideas, not merely in words, but decisively from deep within your mind. There are, however, people who, without realizing this, use the phrase, 'None of these things ever arose,' and train in holding the idea that all this is emptiness. To do so is known as a mere meditation mood. By keeping such an idea in mind, you will not gain certainty. After realizing things to be like this, do not focus on ideas of them being in any particular manner. Things may be experienced in an ordinary way, but you will not find a shred of a concrete or tangible mind that can be seen or held as a focus. Since no impression of its nature can be experienced, nor anything can be perceived by a perceiver, the thought, 'its nature is such and such,' doesn't even occur. Nevertheless, you have still not abandoned the tendencies for deluded thinking. At this point, all things are seen with their own individual features, though evanescent and insubstantial like the colors that appear before your eyes on the smooth surface of the water. Besides that, there is no involvement in concepts of it is this or it is that, and you see the identity of this knowing mind as clearly and evidently as the sky. This is the time when you lose track of yourself, feeling as if you are the sky itself, or you may feel scared or nervous because of seeing the perceiver and perceived as separate, and you no longer want to remain in this state. Seeing yourself as simply name and form, you don't entertain the idea of being a real sentient being. After rising from this state, when you briefly investigate things while engaging in daily activities, you experience only a vivid state of seeing no concrete things. You don't feel as if you are really walking when walking, and there is no sense of eating when you are eating food. At this point, when you investigate things, you realize that there is neither something to accept nor to reject, that things and I are nothing but deceptive, magical illusions. Since you see everything to be like space, you don't see yourself as being you and others as being others. When closing your eyes and letting the mind face inward, all objects become slightly vague. The flow of thought is interrupted, and there are no appearances, so the mind's lucidity gains a space-like quality. You don't sense that you have a body, nor do you notice the movement of your breath. The state of mind at this time resembles the unmoving brightness of a mirror turned towards the sky at dawn. It remains totally lucid, free of any focus or concept, while it is clearly evident to itself. This continues unchanged throughout day and night. From time to time, the stream of knowing gradually turns more solid, but then gently the solidity vanishes again. To improve on this, don't cling to being lucid or at ease. Don't focus on anything, and don't cling to anything. Simply let this state remain aware of itself. When you try to emerge from this state, it doesn't feel as if you have, and even if you do briefly emerge from it, you gently return. Due to having resolved how things are while sitting, perceived things appear in a normal fashion while you remain composed. You neither cling to nor focus upon them. If you can remain in such a way that you see even the yearning for enlightenment as an illusion, and you hold no dread of samsara, then it is known as seeing things without wavering. To develop this, cast away even a subtle form of object and thinker, including the concept that it is such and such. In other words, at first don't suppress anything. Next, don't grasp hold of its presence, and finally, don't pursue it. Instead, allow it to rise from you and subside back into you. The ability, or this ability, to remain for as long as you wish is known as pliable mind, or absence of doing and striving. While composed in this way, you may investigate things that you experience, either after rising from composure or during the composure itself. However, you find that there is no need to modify an insight, nor to deliberately try to scrutinize any given perceived object. Every thought, no matter its type, arises as a dharmata. Every pain, no matter its type, causes no harm, and every pleasure, no matter its type, brings no benefit. Your attention does not need improving, because it remains freely open. Even though you are not meditating, there is no separation from dharmata. Since there is nothing superior to this, you feel no doubt. As you see no meditation object, you find no need for mental effort. Since your attention has become dharmata itself, it remains beyond ebb and flow. This equality is the realization of Dharmakaya. Once you gain stability in this way of being, which is not an ordinary concrete state, it is known as the natural experience of thought-free wakefulness. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, which signs indicate correct training in meditation? The master replied, "When you have trained in the above manner for a long time, the inner and outer signs will all appear. The inner signs include not noticing the inward and outward movement of breath while remaining composed, not feeling that there is a physical body, not sensing heat, cold, or even strong pain, and feeling a natural sense of delight that is not directed at anything whatsoever. At this point, there is less clinging to any given sense object, less fixating on it is such and such, and less timidity in every regard. Selfishness, likes and dislikes, worries, the 8 worldly concerns, and other types of thinking all become fewer and less pronounced. Until these signs have manifest, you must try your utmost to become in accord with them. You might also have some minor miraculous powers, clairvoyance of others' minds, and the like. All these are the inner signs. The outer signs include seeing light shining in your body, or seeing various lights, colors, or shapes in mid-air, seeing the bodily forms of Buddhas and other noble beings, hearing their voices and seeing their gestures of showing you respect, or that they give you teachings, predictions, and so forth. Clinging to these occurrences and believing in their lasting reality entails the flaw of becoming interrupted by Mara. When you neither cling to nor believe in them, they indicate good qualities. Lady Tsogyal asked the master, "What kind of daily activities should one undertake after rising from the state of composure?" The master replied, "After rising from the above-mentioned state of composure, there are 2 ways of training. First, the training that accords with insight is to trust that everything you experience, you, yourself, as well as outer and inner things, are all illusory appearances, like in a dream. Keep this trust in mind during the 4 types of daily activities, no matter what you participate in or enjoy. However your body feels, train so that you neither suppress that feeling nor hold it in mind. In all activities of thought, word, and deed, whatever they may be, train in holding no focus. The training that accords with method is to cultivate an illusory compassion for illusory sentient beings, and if it doesn't hamper your meditation state, then perform various actions to help them. Make vast aspirations, such as the aspiration of noble conduct. Discern between good and evil, and carry out various virtuous actions. It wouldn't belong to the higher vehicles, nor would it be the state of equality if at any point you engaged in virtuous actions while holding them to be real. So realize that you and all things are like a magical illusion. You should exert yourself in gathering the accumulations and purifying the obscurations until you have attained the confidence of equality, in which you behold no substance of an accumulation to be gathered or an obscuration to be purified. Within the state of composure, be free from accepting and rejecting, and remain free from the fear of samsara resulting from misdeeds, as well as the hope of nirvana resulting from virtuous actions. Even though you have attained such confidence of equality, and can engage in actions free of accepting and rejecting, you should, while holding no conceptual focus, respect the ethics of vows and precepts, in order to aid others in avoiding harmful actions and in adhering to virtue. In general, don't judge indulging or abstaining as being either good or evil. To engage in accepting or rejecting, or believing them to be real, is a barrier that prevents equality, just as white and black clouds both obscure the sun. But more so, it is the fault of preventing the understanding of suchness if you focus on precepts as either held or broken after you have attained the confidence of equality. Don't let any emotional thought concerning success or failure, fame or gain overtake you, and don't dwell upon them. Give up your personal shortcomings, such as foolish talk, distracting activities, and absent-mindedness. Train in being totally gentle in all physical, verbal, or mental activities. Don't ponder the flaws of others. Think instead of their good sides. If you become boastful and haughty, conceitedly thinking, "I have special qualities, I have realized dharmata," it shows that you have not realized dharmata, so give it up. In short, since thinking is samsara and non-thought is nirvana, when the yogi remains among distractions and diversions, it is known as samsara. While remaining for even one moment in composure free of focus, that duration is known as nirvana. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "Having practiced in this way, how does one awaken to enlightenment?" The Master replied, "When you have trained in the thought-free nature of dharmata, thoughts, the causes of samsara, grow weaker and more quiet, while thought-free wakefulness becomes spontaneously present. This wakefulness is serene. Its domain of experience is utterly pure, and the three kayas and other enlightened qualities appear naturally, like rays that shine from the sun. Once you have mastered this nature, your body may remain in the world of human beings, but your mind abides at the stage of a Buddha. Once you have practiced in this way, there is no doubt that you will awaken to Buddhahood in the bardo. In other words, within your sky-like personal experience, Dharmakaya that is utterly uncreated, the sun-like Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakayas will, in the perceptions of others, work for the benefit of sentient beings like the sun's rays. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "How should a person of average capacity train in meditation?" The Master replied, "Upon having resolved that all things are one's own mind, a person of average capacity should focus on the ceaseless state of dharmata that thoughts cannot grasp, and train in that state. By doing so, he or she does not need to avoid cultivating or thinking, since realization is already assured. In other words, seeing all things as mind, no other thing whatsoever is seen. In any state of mind, mind is seen. There is no separation. Dharmata is seen even when deliberately meditating. Because of knowing that thought movements are the nature of mind, no matter how dharmata appears in the form of a thought, the nature of mind is self-evident. The notion of believing it to be any other thing is not formed. No matter how one's mind remains, and no matter what is seen, its nature is self-evident and unceasing. It is evident even when not cultivated, and it is mastered even without training in it. While remaining in this nature, no matter the details of objects that may occur, it will cause neither harm nor distraction. The perceiving of attributes by themselves is evidence of the nature of mind, since there is no arising of a conceptual frame of mind. In this way, all phenomena reveal mind, and there is no moving away from that ceaseless state. So, free from effort, one is liberated without carrying out any activity. No matter how sense objects appear, they are seen to be mind. And even if any concept or mental state does occur, one's realization never moves away from dharmata at any time. In this way, when all phenomena are seen to be mind, and there is no slipping into a conceptual state, that is original wakefulness. For the yogi, for whom this is an actuality, every sense experience whatsoever is seen to be dharmata, and all perceptions are therefore a form of training. Hence all phenomena are no other than mind, and no other notion arises. As they do not arise, both objects and concepts are dharmata. Through this realization, everything is experienced as mind. As this mind is intangible, one does not regard thoughts and concepts as flaws, and one trains during the thoughts themselves. This being so, every experience, whatever one is doing or feeling, is nothing other than further training. This shows the main principle that is the single cut of view and meditation training. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "How does one identify the original wakefulness that is dharmata?" The Master replied, "The pith instruction in recognizing original wakefulness is like a skilled doctor who diagnoses a disease by means of the sick person's demeanor, pulse, or urine. Similarly, the yogi should use three things: the Buddha's words, his guru's instructions, and his own experience, to recognize original wakefulness that is all-pervasive like space. The total immediacy of original wakefulness is like the sun striking a mirror's surface. Similarly, the yogi should remain in the total immediacy of original wakefulness, free from any lucid images. The key instruction for naturalness of the six collections is like a person struck by an illness who holds no concepts of shyness or embarrassment. Similarly, the yogi should remain without forming concepts about any of the perceived objects. The direct encounter with original wakefulness is like a wonderful healer who can use everything he or she touches as a means to a cure. Similarly, once the ambrosia of the view is obtained, the yogi should use everything as means for original wakefulness. The pith instruction for quieting the mind is like a turtle unable to move when placed in a basin. Similarly, the yogi's mind is unable to move once he or she has taken hold of it with the guru's instruction. All these pith instructions were the way to identify the original wakefulness that is dharmata. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "What is the method of settling this self-existing wakefulness?" The Master replied, "There are three methods for settling your mind. To settle like a Garuda soaring in the sky means that the Garuda soars when its wings are exhausted. It soars without effort or achievement. It soars while clearly seeing the land below. It soars while possessing the abilities of everyone beneath it, and it soars with fully developed wing power immediately upon hatching from the egg. Similarly, when settling into composure, the yogi should settle his or her exhausted mind without effort, while seeing the principles of the higher vehicles, while containing the abilities of the lower vehicles, and while possessing the awakened state, even though remaining in samsara. To settle it like a swallow entering its nest means to do so without any further deliberation. The yogi should likewise settle his or her mind without any further deliberating thoughts. To settle like a man who has given up all activities means not to adjust or modify the state of mind, no matter what it is. Similarly, the yogi should not adjust, modify, or otherwise contaminate his or her state of mind, no matter what it is. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "How many ways are there to safeguard awakened mind?" The Master replied, "There are 3 ways to safeguard it. Safeguard it as you would a wild horse, which should be tamed undistractedly. Similarly, the yogi should remain undistracted from the nature of the view. Safeguard it as you would a treasure of precious gems, which, unless you make efforts to protect it, is vulnerable to bandits and thieves. Similarly, the yogi should remain invulnerable to dullness and agitation, lest he allow his samadhi to stray. Safeguard it as a king would his queen, so that people are unable to hurt the queen, as they are all included among her subjects. Similarly, the yogi should remain so that thoughts can cause no harm, since he or she has realized all phenomena to be mind." Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "How many ways are there to improve awakened mind?" The Master replied, "There are 3 ways to improve awakened mind. Improve it like a thief in an empty house. The thief leaves as there is nothing to steal. Similarly, when coarse or subtle thoughts occur, the yogi should observe them and then simply remain. Improve it like a cloud in the sky. The cloud that forms in the sky vanishes by itself. Similarly, a thought should be left to subside by itself. Improve it like using a spell to counter a poison. A person who knows a spell that counteracts poisons is capable of remaining unharmed by such poisons. Similarly, the yogi who possesses the pith instructions can experience everything as original wakefulness when he or she embraces it with the view." Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "What are the 3 degrees of progress in Dharmata?" The Master replied, "The following 3 degrees of progress have been taught. The measure of clarity is to be like an oil lamp that remains unmoved by wind. The measure of motionlessness is to be like the water in the ocean's depths. The measure of lightness and smoothness is to be like a speck of cotton." Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "What are the 3 signs of progress?" The Master replied, "They are these 3. The outer sign of progress is when you do not notice having a physical body. The inner is when the negative emotions do not arise. The innermost is when you are not directed toward any object whatsoever." Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "How is the fruition attained?" The Master replied, "The yogi, who is the identity of the 3 kayas and 4 wisdoms, attains it the very moment he or she is free from the encasement of the body." Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "How does the person of the foremost capacity resolve the view?" The Master replied, "He or she resolves the view of original wakefulness by means of these 9 analogies for the non-dual mind of spacious vastness. All phenomena are the mind of spacious vastness, unbiased like a wish-fulfilling jewel. Mind is an unformed spacious vastness, unchanging like the Vajra. This mind is a spacious vastness beyond conceptual attributes, an imperceptible identity, like looking at dense darkness. Mind is an all-encompassing spacious vastness, immense like the sky. There is nothing other than this mind of spacious vastness. Like reflections on a large lake, everything experienced is not different from this mind. This mind is an originally awakened spacious vastness, like the king's own child that no one needs to doubt. This mind is a spacious vastness from which any possible experience can unfold, like the Indranila gemstone that can be perceived in manifold ways. Mind is an unchanging, spacious vastness, like pure gold. In that there is no transforming of the mind's nature, no matter the state of the mind itself. The ninth spacious vastness is that everything is contained within mind. This the yogi resolves. Lady Tsogyal asked the master, "What determines the yogi's conduct?" The master replied, "The yogi determines conduct by means of these analogies of enjoying with unattached skill, like skillfully enjoying reflections on the surface of a placid lake, like skillfully enjoying stars in a clear sky, like skillfully enjoying all that appears and exists within awakened mind. Thus there is no harm in enjoying the 5 sense pleasures when they are embraced with the view." Lady Tsogyal asked the master, "How does the yogi settle into the state of composure?" The master replied, "The yogi should settle into the state of composure by means of these 3 unimpeded states of endless vastness. The unimpeded spacious state, that is the endless vastness of the senses. The unattached state free of clinging, that is the endless vastness of dharmata, which never arises. The objectless state, that is the endless vastness, never moving away from self-knowing wakefulness." These 3 all mean to settle into composure while understanding the absence of fabrication. Lady Tsogyal asked the master, "How should the yogi gain the confidence of fruition?" The master replied, "Here I shall teach by means of analogies that no fruition should be sought apart from experiencing whatever arises as the nature of mind. All phenomena are like reflections appearing on the surface of a great lake, or like the stars that appear in the sky, which do not appear somewhere else, but rather appear in the lake or the sky itself. Similarly, it is the nature of your self-knowing mind that is experienced as the fruition. It appears from you, and that which appears since the beginning is experienced as being your own display. So the fruition is experienced as you yourself." Lady Tsogyal asked the master, "What cuts the root of thoughts?" The master replied, "Here I shall teach how thoughts can naturally dissolve by means of 3 ways of improvement that transcend improving. The senses need no improving, since they are clearly sense the sense objects. Dharmata needs no improving, since it never arises. Thoughts need no improving, since they are clearly seen to be original wakefulness." Why is that? Because it should be understood that everything is original wakefulness, since there is nothing other than mind. This is how thoughts naturally dissolve, since they are clearly seen to be dharmata. Lady Tsogyal asked the master, "Which key point explains how objects experienced do not need to be rejected?" The master replied, "Here I shall teach by means of 6 analogies from the scriptures on self-liberated mind, describing how nothing needs to be rejected since it is clearly seen. The senses need not be rejected while enjoying objects, since they are clearly seen to be dharmata, like an island of precious gold. Thoughts need not be rejected, since they are clearly seen to be original wakefulness, like adding wood to a fire. In dharmata, material things need not be rejected, since they are liberated without rejection, like the great Garuda bird who hatches from its egg with fully developed wings. There is no thing to be settled in the state of composure, since composure and post-meditation are indivisible, like a bird hovering in mid-air. There is no negative emotion to reject, and no obscuration to purify, since everything without exception is mind, just as no darkness exists to be cleared from the sun's orb. There is no need to separate mind and objects into two, since they are clearly seen not to be a duality, just as space cannot be divided into parts. In other words, these are experiences of 6 aspects that need no suppression, since dharmata is clearly seen without suppression and cannot be suppressed even by attempting to do so. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, which key point explains how mind and dharmata are indivisible? The Master replied, these 6 analogies for indivisibility express how mind and dharmata are indivisible. Water and wetness cannot be separated. Fire and heat cannot be separated. A conch and its whiteness cannot be separated. Brocade and the brocade's pattern cannot be separated. The golden isle and its gold cannot be separated. Samsara and nirvana cannot be separated. Similarly, all things and all sentient beings cannot be separated within the single great sphere. Being and non-being cannot be separated, but are clearly seen to be mind, and hence the true original wakefulness. Also, things are mind while mind is things, and therefore indivisible and no different. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, which analogies illustrate that all that appears and exists occurs from oneself? The Master replied, the same 6 analogies apply for the absence of sequence, illustrating how all that appears and exists is original wakefulness. The previous 6 simple analogies mentioned above show indivisibility and an absence of sequence. In this way, there is no sequence between dharmata and all the things that appear and exist, dharmas, since they are all the great original wakefulness, which is self-known and occurring from oneself. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, what can clear away the 8 hindrances and the narrow passages on the path of the yogi's mind? The Master replied, here is how to clear these obstructing 8 narrow passages on the path of the yogi's mind. They are cleared by realization, in that having cleared the narrow passage of dualistic perception, the yogi abides in the stronghold of the view beyond duality. Having cleared the narrow passage of thoughts, the yogi abides in the stronghold of non-thought. Having cleared the narrow passage of viewpoints, the yogi abides in the stronghold beyond viewing. Having cleared the narrow passage of accepting and rejecting, the yogi abides in the stronghold of nothing to be rejected. Having cleared the narrow passage of a perceiver and something perceived, the yogi abides in the stronghold of transcending perceiver and perceived. Having cleared the narrow passage of hope and fear, the yogi abides in the stronghold of awakened mind, evidently seen in oneself. Having cleared the narrow passage of clinging, the yogi abides in the stronghold of transcending something to grasp and hold. Having cleared the narrow passage of effort and achievement, the yogi abides in the stronghold of spontaneous perfection. Thus, by abiding in these 8 strongholds, everything is brought together within awakened mind, so that every type of narrow passage is cleared without accepting or rejecting. Since he or she clearly sees that everything is mind, the narrowness of hope and fear is removed, and the spacious, wide-open domain is reached. Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "How does one discern reliable experiences?" The Master replied, "Experiences are deemed reliable if they can be verified by 3 measures. Once you have understood the above points, they are realized by gaining trust in the experience of sublime statements, pith instructions, and your own intelligence. Moreover, after having gained such a deep trust within yourself, as you continue the training, your experience becomes clear, in that your body feels light, your mind becomes lucid, you can see what is concealed, you have very few thoughts, and so forth. Continue without conceit, hope, or fear, so that, even when the signs of progress naturally appear, you will no longer indulge in any boastful euphoria." Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "How are sidetracks and extreme beliefs eliminated?" The Master replied, "One should not follow in the tracks of these 8 and 9 types of beliefs. Do not follow the tracks of the 9 vehicles, or those of the 6 classes of beings, together with the extremist views of permanence and nothingness. When training in meditation, the yogi should not regard objects and mind as being separate, suppress interdependent phenomena, cultivate emptiness, or cultivate any duality or the like. None of the 9 gradual vehicles should become a fixed stance. The 6 classes of beings are not transformed perceptions, but are ordinary positions. The extreme views of permanence and nothingness are distorted beliefs. The yogi is simply dharmata when he or she avoids following any of these beliefs, and instead remains free of bias and prejudice." Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "Which key point makes one naturally free of attachment?" The Master replied, "The key point that appearances are self-display and naturally dissolve through non-attachment. Appearances appear as the display of your awakened mind. As this is the case, when attached and clinging, see that your attachment is to no real object. Let the thought bloom, and the attachment will then naturally vanish. Appearances are self-display. Their emptiness is a natural emptiness, and any attachment clears just like air does." Lady Tsogyal asked the Master, "What defines the difference between the 9 vehicles?" The Master replied, "The differences between the 9 vehicles are defined by the presence or absence of the following beliefs. The position of the Shravakas is to believe that while objects and mind are different, objects are made of atoms, and atoms of material substance. Pratyeka Buddhas believe that while external objects are illusions, these illusions are unreal since they are interdependent, but the mind that perceives them is real. The middle way position is that interdependent phenomena are emptiness, and emptiness is devoid of conceptual constructs. In the first of the 3 outer tantras of secret mantra, one gains realization by believing that everything ultimately is emptiness, while relatively it is pure in being the 3 families. In the next, one realizes through a view like the higher and a conduct like the lower, while using practices based on both. In the last, one realizes the body of the deity by accepting and rejecting the four mudras and samadhi. Among the three inner tantras of secret mantra, Mahayoga holds that phenomena ultimately are non-arising, while relatively they are magical illusions, known as the fourfold equality and the triple purity. Anuyoga regards the cause to be the nature of pure space, while the effect is the wisdom mandala, and that the child of great bliss is when wakefulness realizes this basic space that is complete as the mandala of male and female deities. Moreover, it is cultivated as complete without being developed. All vehicles, up to and including Anuyoga, do hold positions and have attachments, but Arti Yoga has neither position nor attachment. What does it mean that Arti Yoga is without position or attachment? It means that, since it is clearly seen from the beginning, the awakened state is not presumed to be manufactured. Due to not being attached to any conceptual thing, it has no attachment. You do not see the higher or lower levels in the vehicles unless you discern these differences between them. So this is how you should distinguish the 9 vehicles. These were the extremely secret instructions that the Master Padmasambhava gave orally for the sake of people of the foremost caliber, whose mind gate is protected by Sri Hayagriva. How to collect the key points all together so as to resolve the view by means of the 9 analogies for the mind of spacious vastness. How to determine the conduct by means of enjoying with unattached skill. How to settle into the state of composure by means of 3 unimpeded states of endless vastness. How it is taught by means of analogies that no fruition should be sought apart from experiencing whatever arises to be the nature of mind. How thoughts can naturally dissolve by means of 3 ways of improvement that transcend improving. How, by means of 6 analogies from the scriptures on self-liberated mind, no perceived object needs to be rejected, since everything is clearly seen. How 6 analogies for indivisibility explain how mind and dharmata are indivisible. How 6 analogies for no sequence illustrate how all that appears and exists is original wakefulness. How to clear away the 8 hindrances and the narrow passages on the path of the yogi's mind, and how abiding in 8 strongholds brings the yogi's path into a single point. How to trust the 3 measures, and so to naturally produce experiences and signs of progress without boastful pride. How to avoid following in the tracks of these 8 types of beliefs. How appearances are self-display and naturally dissolve through non-attachment. And how the differences between the 9 vehicles are defined by the presence or absence of beliefs. He explained all this for people of the foremost capacity by letting these teachings spontaneously flow from the expansive realization of Dharmata.